Now to speak of 5 things we started doing differently, things we do differently now that we're back together. I would say number one is the fact that we used to homeschool our children before, prior to our separation, and then after we got back together, it was a no-brainer. My husband had made up his mind. You know, the children were no longer to be homeschooled. The children were now. He quickly enrolled them in school. The idea behind it, he felt had poured way too much of myself into the children. You know, and prioritized the children over my marriage. It may sound somewhat, but bear with me for a bit. Let's talk about this. You see, I would wake up in the morning. I would wake up late because homeschooling started late, about 10 a.m. But from the time that we start, we work until late in the evening, sometimes 6, 7, 8 p.m. In between, I'm cooking. I'm also doing my business. I run a business. I do consulting for um, the education industry. So in between, I'm doing all that, and I'm working from home. So you're pouring all of yourself. I was pouring all of myself into my children, and not paying much attention to my husband. So my husband became like a by the way kind of thing. Yeah, it became like a second thought rather than the major event. Yeah, so and it's easy for us to sweep this under the carpet and say, after all, the children. My children were no longer babies. They had gotten to that age. I mean, other homes where the children were being schooled were at school, um, didn't get to do things the way we were doing things. Didn't have the kind of dynamics that we had in my home. And because it's children, that's the tricky thing about it. Because it's my children, because it's our children, it seemed all right. It seemed holy, even. It seemed righteous. It seemed like the proper thing to do. So you don't see that you're actually going out of line. I didn't see that I was going out of line in any way. And it became a difficult thing for him to speak about. Like, how do you say to your wife that she's not giving you time, she's giving your children all the time and giving you no time? You sound like the bad one, right? But it's very legitimate. I learned that it's actually a thing in homes. A lot of people get married and they think that they take it for granted. Oh, now we're all lovey-dovey. Don't worry when the children come. You're not going to be loving me. You're not going to be loving me up the way you're loving me now. I've heard men say that, you know, to women they're married to. Don't worry when the children come. You're not going to be paying me as much mind as you're paying me now. In other words, what they're resigning to is, now you see all this love that's going on now. There will come a time when the love will ebb. When the attention will ebb, when the dynamics will no longer be the same, and I will resign to that. Now that's what a lot of men do. That's what a lot of homes do. The men resign to that. The women resign to the new reality. Everybody resigns to the new reality. Nobody's trying to do better. And then things get worse and worse and worse. Before the man decides that to have certain alternatives. Oh yeah, okay, if I can't get this and I really, really want this, if I can't get the love lovey that I'm hoping for, that I really desire, and then things start to go haywire, things start to go out of whack and out of joint. By which time it's too late. Yes, so um so here I was pouring my whole self into my children, and homeschooling them, as well as my business. So between my children and my business, it was one or the other. My husband became like, oh yeah, he's there. So that is like gross taking for granted. Yes, and he is not the sort of man who's used to that sort of thing. What he's used to is, you know, um, where he's coming from. He's coming from a polygamous experience where his father had enough attention. Um, he didn't lack. He didn't lack the attention he desired, and I just wasn't playing. I just wasn't in that role. Yeah, I just wasn't in that role. So so he decided. as we were getting back together that homeschooling will have to go. So he enrolled. He went, sought the school, sought out the school, and enrolled the children. Yeah. Now, the thing about it is this: I had wanted to homeschool because I had certain ideas that I wanted to make happen for my children. That I wanted in my children's education experience. And I saw that if I was going to get that, if at all, I was going to find that it was going to be. I mean, that if I was going to get that, if at all, I was going to find that it was going to be um, pretty expensive. If at all, I found it. So I said to myself, instead of looking for it, I can provide it. So what I thought was my husband and I will be able to provide it. Yeah. But when push came to shove, my husband didn't have the time to provide it, so it was left for me to handle alone. And then I took the bull by the horns. I went to work with it. I went to work, and I was getting the results, that I was hoping for, and I was pretty much satisfied. And you know how dopamine, when you do something and you see the results, it's so heavily fulfilling. Because it's that fulfilling, you almost like get a high from it. Because it's that fulfilling, you apply yourself again. So I was busy getting my dopamines from the homeschooling, my homeschooling efforts, and then also my business. So, and I was on a high. I was on a high. I was in the clouds, in a place where my husband just wasn't there with me. He was doing his own thing. I was doing my own thing. I was in a bubble. I just, and I didn't know I was in a bubble. Yes, so in other words, I was just doing my own thing, and he was there watching me, and seeing, how I was slipping away, and there was no waking me up from this thing. So by the time we got back together, homeschooling had to go. So much as I love homeschooling, I advocate homeschooling um, for parents who would like to do it, and I also I'm also available. I make myself available to show them how to go about it and stuff like that. But for me, for my own dynamics, that came that time when it just wasn't the thing to do. I learned over time that my husband's personality type is that kind of person, is that type where when he does get your attention, he wants your attention. He his love language, one of his love languages is quality time. His major love language is quality time. And if you're going to give him time at all, if you don't give him time at all, it's a different thing. If you're busy doing something, fine, but you have to make out time for him. And when you do make out that time for him, you have to give him, your all of your attention. He likes to have to know that he has your attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's his love language. As a matter of fact, I like quality time as well. So I came to that place where I asked myself, is this thing important to you or is it not? Then I discovered that, hey, the things he wants, I want the very same things as well. I also want quality time. As a matter of fact, I want quality time for me. I also want quality time for him because I enjoy it. I like it. There's something it does for me when I give him quality time. So I enjoy it myself. I enjoy giving him attention. Oh, is that what he wants? I mean, it's one thing when your spouse is asking for something that you cannot give, something that is impossible, something that you hate to do, something that you do not like to do. But this one, I love to do it. I don't mind it. It's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand it. It's something I also want. So can you give it? Yes, I can. Totally. So it's one thing knowing that oh, this is what your husband wants, or sometimes you don't even know. At the time, I hadn't come to that place where I understood his love language was quality time. It's one thing to assume it or to imagine it, but not know the extent to which this thing means so much to this person. You don't quite understand how deeply this person desires this thing, how much this person yearns for this thing, how much this person needs this thing to thrive. Yes, for my husband, give him quality time. In one day, in a 24-hour span of time, give him some real quality time. When you've given him that real quality time, he can face the world. So I realized that this man is not just being unreasonable. This thing does something for him. Yes, quality time does something for him. That his wife would prioritize him. that for him to know that he knows that he knows that his wife will prioritize him. His wife desires to prioritize him. His wife would stop, you know, things. His wife will hold things down just to give him the quality time that he desires. You know, it does something for him. So when I discovered that homeschooling had to go in my heart too, much as he is the one who initiated it, it is one thing for him to initiate it, and then you don't want him to stop it. They want to discontinue homeschooling, and you still want to continue homeschooling. No, but for me, he sold that. I mean, he was totally sold. I totally understood why homeschooling had to go. But he found a school that we could work with, so it was okay. So today we endeavor to give each other quality time. Real quality time. We endeavor something that is important to us. We will hold down a lot of things just to be sure that the other person understands that either party understands that, hey, you know you mean that much to me. So that's number one. Then number two, what would I say? Okay, yeah. Also, prior to our separation, I had started to do I started to wear a Mama t-shirts. Okay, let me explain what a Mama t-shirts mean. You know those t-shirts you wear when for your mother's funeral, for those of us who have lost our mothers, or your father's funeral, for your funeral. Now the Adio Mama is, you're saying, okay, for those of us who don't understand what Adio Mama t-shirts are, those t-shirts you make, those souvenirs, those, merchandise for for funerals, right? You know, and when it's your mom or your dad, let's say your mom, your beloved mama, and those t-shirts, they mean so much to you. It's like, okay, now she's gone, but I like to wear this t-shirt, and these t-shirts have the pictures of your beloved mother, right on them, boldly on them. So it's almost like you're hugging onto your mother when you're wearing these t-shirts, yeah. So you love the t-shirts almost same way as you love your mother, so you want to hold those t-shirts close. You want to hold your mother close. You want to remember them. So you start to wear those t-shirts. Now those t-shirts are frumpy. Now I'm using a Geo Mama. It's one of the things you wear. There's a Geo Mama, there is also boo-boos, rectangular. This is okay, like I'm wearing a boo-boo now. It's not so rectangular and just a rectangular sack you put on, but these days they make them a lot prettier and a lot more stylish. But those days, them days, they were not as stylish. Yeah, they were not as stylish. So they were just rectangular, rectangular dresses, frumpy dresses with just a neck that you just pull through, pull over your head, and you're dressed for the day. Those things can be so comfortable. When you started to have children, especially when you started to have children, and then they're babies, they're young, they're growing, they're still young children, and then you're running all over the place with them. You're running, all over the place with them, doing things with them. You're getting down to, chores and this and that. So it's so easy to wake up in the morning, take a shower and just don one of those. You're good to go. You do anything and everything you need to do in those things. The thing about it is those things are not appealing. For some men, at least for my husband, it wasn't appealing. And trust me, I really couldn't care less. Because I'm like, hey, he should understand. The last thing on my mind is right now is to look good is to even begin to try to look good. That's the last thing on my mind, And my husband had given me the impression that he didn't care for the externals. He used to say to me he didn't care for the externals. What he didn't understand was that I could go all the way down. He didn't understand that I could become that bad. He just thought, okay, she's pristine, she's decent, she's pristine, she takes care of herself, she's and all that. She's got all the works and all that. What he didn't realize, I remember when we first got married, once he actually did say, Lord, I hope I didn't marry a high maintenance chick. And so at the time he was saying that, he was also in the same breath saying to me, oh, you don't need all the makeup, you don't need all of this, you don't need all of that. And really, I don't. Really, what he didn't realize was I'm one of those people who I know how to abase and to abort. I can do without. So he was shocked when he saw the level of doing without that I could do. I mean, I could go all the way. No, you know, so to the point where I would just wear a Juma. You said it was fine, a Juma t-shirt. You said it was fine. Okay, you said, so I can do boo boos. Yeah, so. But it wasn't a conversation we had. I just used to just wear those things and just walk around the house and do the things I need to do and